Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. I'm your host, Anish Gupta.
I'm Donny Clemens. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say my
Nah,
name.
nah, nah, we're
My
good.
bad.
We're good. I got Donnie over here. You guys may remember him. I think we did the last video we probably did might have even been before the season started when we kind of
I
did
think
over under win totals.
yeah, it was over under win totals. We had fun with. We talked about how terrible Arizona was gonna be, which was
Yep.
a lot of fun. I mean,
We
hey,
had some
we
fun teams on
honestly
there.
we were listen record wise we sucked. Play wise, I didn't think we were that bad, but
I think we were pretty
no,
solid. The
yeah, we
Rams
were.
one I remember quite well.
And we don't talk about that one.
Yeah, but it's we're recording this literally the day of the new league year, so it's for every team that didn't win the trophy, which obviously I figure is most of our teams. We've got a new chance. Some have a better chance than others. Obviously, for those who remember, Donnie is a Cardinals fan, so it can only go up. I think
Uh,
that's
it,
I,
there's no way we can be worse than last year. That's just what I keep telling myself. There's no way we can be worse.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to tell yourself because honestly, like, dude, even they were better than like a lot of people expected. They fought in a lot of games, and even towards the end, they looked pretty solid. I think Jonathan Gannon really earned himself another year. So,
Oh,
um,
absolutely. And this was coming from someone who I didn't really like either of the big time highs because Arizona after that atrocious year. I mean, they cleaned house, got rid of Steve Keim, got rid of Cliff, and
yep,
I wasn't the biggest Monty Austin Fort fan. I thought, I mean, like there was some big connections with New England, but I also know that hiring guys from New England in the past recently haven't been the best. He was at Tennessee for a couple years as well. There was some weird thing that was going on that like he was the reason why AJ Brown got traded. That didn't end up being true, but still, I thought at first maybe that was true. And got to give him credit for the draft, man, because he's the reason why Arizona has two top 30
mhm,
picks. So shout
yep,
out him. And like you said, Gannon, I mean, the memes, like the woo, fireworks, woo, 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 all that stuff. And, it seemed like he was a bit of a cringy guy, but dude, one thing I can say about Arizona was they may have sucked. That roster may have been terrible, but they played their hearts out. And that's
yep.
something I can't say they did in 2022 because that team looked defeated. It had no leadership. There was drama. There was all the Kyler stuff as well. And then he gets injured, and then the whole team basically just falls off after that. But this year, they were playing their hearts. I mean, dude, they beat Dallas. I mean, they beat
Mhm.
Philly, like those are impressive wins.
Yeah, they had more wins against winning teams than like teams like the Cowboys and Dolphins. So it was pretty funny. But
I don't
yeah,
know
we
how.
are obviously, as you can tell on our screen, we've got our first mock on this pod. Donnie is a mock draft connoisseur. Fun fact, he said he literally did one earlier today. So
I did.
he's well versed in this. This is probably like my third. So been focused way too much on Cal right now, but I finally get to kind of do one for the NFL. But before we get started, I wanted to ask you because he wanted to surprise me with this. Your favorite free agent signing so far? We were each gonna say one, but I'm curious because he did say it was in the AFC North. So
It
I'm
was.
curious.
So, everyone's talking about, the big signings with Patrick Queen and whatnot. And yeah, well, first off, I'm not the biggest Patrick Queen fan, but that's another conversation for another day. But no, my personal favorite signing, I think this is a guy who can plug in right away as a starter. And I thought he played really well last year. This was a seventh round pick out of Iowa. Geno Stone to the Bengals, 2 years, 15
Oh,
million.
damn.
I love Geno Stone. This is a guy who, listen, you can look at the interceptions and say maybe it was just kind of a 1 year lucky interception year. Dude, he was legit good in coverage. Like he was. He was a guy that they would play in single high a lot with Kyle Hamilton, doing his thing up towards the ball, towards the
Yep,
line of
yep.
scrimmage. And they would just let him be a free ball safety. I'm pretty sure Marcus Williams also dealt with injury, so he got a bit more playing time. But even if he wasn't injured, I mean, they would just rotate him around, and he was just getting the ball in his hands. And that's what you got to do in today's NFL. You want to win football games, you got to get the ball back to the offense's hands. And Baltimore did that at a very high level because of him. And they needed help with safety. They drafted Daxton Hill in the first round, who hasn't been great, but he's also young, so maybe he can develop. Jordan Battle had a solid rookie year, but
Mhm.
is kind of limited with athleticism. Not too sure how high his ceiling is as a player. Maybe he's a decent starter, but I think Geno Stone does bring some value into a defense that is also lacking at corner. So, having a nice little safety trio of Jackson Hill, Jordan Battle, Geno Stone, it's really going to help a secondary that, as of right now, they desperately need help. And after losing to Woozier, you have Cam Taylor Britt, who I really like.
Mhm.
Do they have Troy Hill? No, he was signed to the Rams. So like they're gonna need some more help, possibly in this mock draft. We'll see if that ends up happening. But they need some help at corner. But for safety, I mean, listen, 2 years, 15 million. You asked me, I thought he was going to get about a 4 year, 40 million or something like that. I thought he
Agreed.
played really well, and he ended up getting a lot less. And hopefully, he can really show off his skill set and earn more money because it's always nice to hear those seventh round stories. This guy seventh round pick out of Iowa. I'm biased. I'm an Iowa fan, but we always we get those boys ready in the NFL. We don't bring in top tier talent, and even with that, they're still top 15 NFL salary. They're top 10 in NFL draft picks that end up working out. So we do them right.
I think that's a good one. I was not expecting Geno Stone, but even then, you're right because he goes from a room where it was him, Marcus, and Kyle, and you're right. They kind of honestly all three just rotated in that system. Like they played different roles, and I think he's going to a team now. They just let go of Nick Scott, and it's going to be now him, Jordan Battle, and Dax Hill. You already kind of covered those two. I was going to touch on them, but I think you took everything out. What I was going to say, I agree with you because I think those two are young. I think Jordan Battle has a hell of a upside. I think he is a little bit limited athletically, but like in terms of like how he plays as a player, fundamentally he's pretty solid. And I think Geno Stone's gonna add to that coverage because you're right, they're pretty thin at the defensive back, kind of just overall field. So this was a good ad. Mine was a little bit different. I was a really big fan of Blake Cashman to the Vikes. I think the Vikes have just killed it.
One.
Like the Vikings have just kept like Kwesi obviously is a former Brown. He's their GM now. Like they have had a set plan. Like they were just going to invest heavy on defense, right? They get Aaron Jones for 7 mil, which I think is a great pickup. And then their defensive ads were what? Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, right? Like those were two really good pieces. I'm literally forgetting some because I know they invested
I'll
more in.
pull up some more real quick.
Yeah, like I mean, that was like their goal. They said, okay, this is what we're gonna. Oh, Andrew Van Ginkel was the other one that I liked, but
Another good one from Miami. Yep, and they got him for cheap.
Um, who are you? Oh yeah. AVG. But I think like this is like what they were doing. Like they're saying, okay, we've already got our offensive pieces. Most of our guys are paid up, right? I mean, they got to give Jefferson the money, but like these guys that they got weren't really
Aaron
like
Jones as well.
yeah, exactly. Like they didn't break the bank in turn like with any, real signing, but they made it key like okay, we've got our defense, right? And you give guys for Blind Flores to kind of use more in blitz packages. You have your offensive guys, you have your tackles, Darisaw O'Neal, both are paid as of right now. Um, Obviously Jefferson's gonna get his money. Addison's a young stud. Aaron Jones in that backfield. You get Darnold as like a bridge for whatever happens. Like I mean, I'm
Got
not a
TJ
big Sam
Hawkinson for
Darnold
the
guy,
left
but
tackle.
yeah, I love the Blake Cashman sign. I think he had like 100 plus tackles last year. He killed us. Like he killed us in the playoff game. He had like 9 tackles for loss throughout the season. Was just a really solid piece. I think he's gonna be great for Minnesota. Good Hicks replacement, if not better.
Oh, great Hicks replacement, and so much younger as well.
Yeah.
Jordan Hicks, coming from an Arizona fan, he was with us for a few years. He was also in Philadelphia where he won that Super Bowl with them.
Yep.
Jordan Hicks is he's a decent player. He's best when his nose is definitely towards the line of scrimmage, but unfortunately, just kind of limited as a coverage player, which sucks. I think Cashman really took a jump this year,
Mhm.
especially in that D'Amico defense, and that was another. I mean, you talk about some of the best signings in terms of the linebacker position because this year there haven't been a lot. I think that's definitely in consideration to be the best one. And I think it also makes the North a lot of fun because I was talking to someone about it. Everyone's saying, what's the best division in football? It's the AFC North. I think the NFC North is right up there with them, especially
It's
when we're
coming
talking
out, dude.
after, especially when we talk about after the draft, with the worst team as of right now being the Bears, having 2 top 10 picks that's going to help a lot with their future. So those are the two best divisions in football. And Minnesota, a team that I was particularly low on before free agency, thinking I'm not too sure how they're going to be. They killed it and they put
Agreed.
themselves right back in the playoff consideration if things go well.
Yep. I think we've talked enough about free agency. Let's jump into this, man, like this draft. So I will say this. This is I think our first mock draft ever that we're doing with trades. So obviously you kind of see our board right now. It's all blank. Donnie's gonna take the odd number picks. I'll take the evens. And yeah, I think you know what? Let's just jump right into it, man. Let's do it. You got pick one, you're on the clock. You're Chicago. What do you do?
All right, the Chicago Bears. There's the big debate of do they keep Justin Fields? Do they take Caleb Williams? I have been on the train since day one. You take Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, listen, he's not a flawless prospect. He's not the high floor that Trevor Lawrence was, obviously. However, in a league where you have to be truly naturally gifted at the quarterback position to be to be one of the best of the best, Joe Burrow is the one exclusion of that. If you want to be one of the best quarterbacks, you got to have those athletic traits and those God-given gifts that he has. Caleb has a ridiculous elastic arm, can throw across body, can play amazingly off platform. A lot of people give them a Holmes comps, and there are true. Well, I think they obviously run a bit wild sometimes. There are legit comparisons. I think he's more of a Kyler Murray, but the thing about Kyler is he struggles over the middle of the field because of his height. Caleb's about 6 feet tall. That's about
Yeah,
three
he's
inches
not
taller than.
big. He's
Like
not
he's
big.
not big, but what he is taller than Kyler, which is going to help. And Caleb's also a bit thicker of a dude. He's about 215. So he's got some good, cushion in the stomach, and that's something that personally I want out of my. I don't want a guy who has some crazy 8-pack or super skinny. Like I just want a dude who's a bit tankier, like has a bit of cushion in the stomach and in the chest because that's going to help with injuries. Caleb has that. I mean, what hasn't been said about Caleb at this point, dude? Like what hasn't been
Yeah,
said? He's got the highest ceiling of any quarterback prospect we've seen in a while.
agreed. I think this was a lock. I keep telling people this. I think it was a lock. I think in the Bears' minds too when they lost to Green Bay. I think that Week 18 game really told it because okay, first they lost to Green Bay. Green Bay goes on to beat Dallas. They go on to literally they should have beat SF, but they go on, so Jordan Love has a spectacular playoffs. Then it's like, oh my God, everyone's now just talking about Green Bay for the future, right? But if that does, let's say they win against Green Bay. Green Bay never makes the playoffs. I think Chicago would have been one game out, or if not the same record. And everyone's talking about, hey, we beat Green Bay finally. What could we do with Fields going on forward? Didn't happen, right? They scored like 9 points or something, right?
He didn't
And
play
it's like
particularly well either. He did not.
exactly like this. That was the game. If he had a chance to do it, that was it. And it just didn't go their way. And I think now it's kind of a shoe in that Caleb's gonna go there. We'll see what the future holds for Fields. Honestly, I mean, I really don't know. But I get Washington at 2 here. And obviously, I'm torn between the two QBs, May and Daniels. I've seen some real buzz that Daniels goes to. And obviously, I know you're pulling up Drake May, and I know you're pulling up Jaden Daniels because obviously it's going to come down to those guys. Both are 6'4", both have great traits, a little bit different archetypes. I'm gonna go with Jaden Daniels actually at pick two.
Ooh,
I'm gonna,
okay.
I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels at pick two. This is yeah. This I think this is the first time I'm mocking it. Usually I've had May go two, but I feel like okay, Washington. Like the two things I'm seeing is maybe like they kind of want this like this newer age, right? Drake May is kind of similar archetypes of quarterbacks they've had recently. Jaden Daniels gives them that upside that they can kind of bank on. Washington's been making a lot of moves in free agency. They're kind of building this team up. Younger players, kind of with more upside. Obviously Dan Quinn's got his lock on like all his like former like players, but on defense, so obviously defensive coaches are going to build that. But your offensive staff, you kind of want a guy who's going to kind of usher in this new age. Jaden Daniels, man, I feel like he's going to be that kind of guy, and he's going to be really excited to play for Washington.
I mean, currently, as of today, the new betting favorite to be the second overall pick. For the
Oh,
whole
wow.
time,
I did not know.
it was Drake May
Hmm.
until today, this morning at 9:55 a.m. Because that's when I saw the notification.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is now officially the favorite to be the second overall pick to the Washington Commanders, which I think is interesting. Personally, I'm not as high on Jaden as the NFL is. I think he's more of a late first round pick. However, I can see the vision with him being a potential top 10 pick. No question about it.
Hmm.
Just that athleticism, man, that's very hard to find in quarterbacks today.
Exactly.
That is just it just elevates an offense. It elevates that run game. We saw it with Anthony Richardson. We saw it with Lamar Jackson. We saw it with Josh Allen. These guys, and I think Jaden Daniels is more advanced as a passer than those
He
guys,
is. Yeah.
those guys coming out, but I don't think he's perfect. And we've seen guys, elevate. Like we saw when Josh Allen was developing as a passer, when Lamar Jackson was developing as a passer, when Anthony Richardson is currently developing as a passer, when Jalen Hurts was developing as a passer. We've seen guys with this kind of mobility. Excuse me. I've done 5 podcasts the last 2 days. So I'm trying to keep up with me, but We've seen guys go into offenses with this athleticism and elevate it. And we see a little bit of that with Justin Fields as well. Maybe not to the extent of those guys, but still. So I don't mind it. However, in my opinion, I do think ultimately Drake May is my QB2 in this draft. Just
Agreed.
tools, man. I mean, you're in a division with Josh Allen. How do you beat Josh Allen? Maybe you get a slightly lesser version of Josh Allen, like, and maybe could end up being more consistent than Josh Allen. I've been pushing the big Josh Allen QB2 narrative in the NFL for a while, and I think Drake May is kind of the lesser version of that. Shout out to my boy Cannon on TikTok for saying the comp is Justin Albert, but like there are some similarities with those two, man. I mean, this is another bigger dude at about 6'3", about 230, just unreal off platform, man. And he has the ability to stand in the pocket and hit those throws over the middle. I think the NFL not readiness is absolutely stupid. This is a guy who can plug in right away as a good NFL starter. Maybe New England isn't the best possible spot.
Yeah,
The offensive line.
to do day one, but
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line, I think it's getting better, but it's still got a long ways to go. The receiving room might be the worst in football.
yeah, it's not a
At
good
least
spot
I'll
right
say I'll say this: it's the second worst behind Arizona, but as you see on the board, that's likely going to change. But New England's receiving room is absolutely terrible. They were robbed out of Calvin Ridley because of that massive contract the Titans gave him. Maybe they get Hollywood Brown, but like, is that really going to elevate much? Like, this is a team that really does need a true number one. However, I think
now.
Drake
Not
May
had
is
it in a while.
so. I just think, and there's the whole argument of do they take Marvin? You can't have a Garrett Wilson situation, man. You got to get the franchise guy when one has fallen into your lap that's this talented. I just can't pass on that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, you took it really quick because I've seen a lot of buzz where it's like, whoa, if I'm Minnesota, do I like beg them, offer the farm to trade up at 3? I just don't know if the Patriots would trade down. I just don't.
If
I
Drake is
can't
there,
see
I
it.
just can't see it, man.
Yeah, I can't see like maybe if if it was Jaden Daniels there, maybe. But I just can't see it if Drake May. Like in this scenario, that's why, yeah, you did it real quick and I would too. Like I think Drake May has to go there at 3. And it just kind of ushers in a new era of Pats football. Everything you said about May, I 100% agree with. He is my QB2 as well. Just his poise in the pocket, man. Like I think he and his off-platform throws, as you mentioned, are really solid. Jaden Daniels has that out of structure upside, but in terms of like fundamentals in the pocket, it's Drake May. It's not even close.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, so that gives me your pick. But I think this is something you've been pushing for literally the last like 5, 6 months or something. And I've got the pictures of the jersey swaps to prove it. You're already selecting him for me. Yep, it's MHJ. Shout out the Buckeye going to Arizona. Kyler gets a hell of a target. That dude is that dude. Like I feel like that's all I
almost
really need to say.
perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
almost perfect. Almost, man.
You
Just,
must be
I mean,
ecstatic with that if that happens.
dude, I mean, and I think he fits Kyler so well.
Hmm.
Kyler is a guy, much like Russell Wilson back in his prime. This is a guy who I would argue almost nobody in the league is better. And I've said this for a while. Not a lot of quarterbacks in this league are better than Kyler throwing those outside hashes. Not a lot of people are because he's had to do it his whole life. Because,
Hmm.
fortunately, we make fun of the ha ha ha, he's short, but that does add limitations to his game. He
Yeah, of
struggles over
course.
the middle of the field,
Hmm.
but he is so good at throwing those outside throws that it makes him the player he is. Marvin is a guy who absolutely dominates that. I mean, much similar to D Hop, just a guy who's going to go up and get it. This is one of the best catch radiuses, hand eye coordination, catching traffic you're ever going to see. I mean, he caught a ball while being tackled by Will Johnson mid tackle, was still locating the ball and caught it.
Hmm.
That's something
Good
that
game,
you
baby.
don't do unless you're special. And we didn't even talk about the route tree he runs, man. Name me another 6'4" wide receiver that is this technical as a route runner with this diverse of a release package. It just doesn't exist. This does not exist. He truly is. Listen, I don't like the word generational. I don't, because I feel like we throw it around too often. He deserves this title. He's the best wide receiver prospect I can say since, at minimum, Julio Jones. And maybe you can even go further back to Megatron. He's going to be one of the best receivers in the league day one, man, especially if he does end up with a quarterback that fits him so well, like a Kylo. I love this pick, man. As a Cardinal fan, he could be the next Larry, man. He really could be the next Larry.
Yeah, dude, I think Kyler's had two really good receivers throughout his career, and like CD in college and what do you call it, D Hop
Yeah.
in the NFL. He could honestly be the best one he's had. Like
Yes.
he
Good.
really could be. So, but now you get pick five here. This is where it gets interesting. You really get to shake things up here because I see four names that they could literally go with in Neighbors, Bowers, Alton, Rome. So, what are you
Absolutely.
gonna do here?
So this is an interest. So in my opinion, this is where the draft starts, I think, because
Hmm.
I do believe that quarterbacks. Now, maybe you can say what quarterback goes where. We all know Caleb's going to go number one. Maybe what quarterback goes where. This is where the draft starts because we have no idea what's going to happen here. We can assume the top three picks are going to be quarterbacks. And if that happens, with the signing of Jonah Williams to Arizona, they have Paris Johnson Jr. I'm going to assume they don't take a tackle and they take Marvin Harrison Jr. We don't know what the Chargers are going to do. What do I think they're going to do at this second? I think it's between two things. I think they're either leaning Joe Alt, who
Hmm.
me and Cole talked about before the show. In my years of doing this draft stuff since 2017, he's the second best tackle I've ever watched behind Panay Sewell. Usually, when you're this big at 6'8, 6'9, it can lead to leverage problems. This dude plays with such amazing pad level and has such great grip strength that it's just mind blowing. And maybe when you watch him play, you're like, maybe defenders can kind of grab him and throw him because he's so leaning forward. If he gets his hands on you, you're not getting off him. You're not getting off him. His grip strength is that good, and he moves so well. And even if you beat him, he can twerk his back and his butt to make sure that he doesn't get fully beat, so he can get a little bit about an extra second before he gets pushed back. Joel, it's special, man. Unfortunately, I do think right now they do trade this pick. And looky
Ooh,
there.
wow.
And looky there. The
Oh my
team
God.
of destiny projected, they're asking to trade up. There is a big battle right now. Is it going to be the Vikings? Is it going to be the Broncos? And I said I was going to save this take until we started the pod. What are the odds? I'm looking at Denver right now. You just gave up a buttload of picks for Russell Wilson and it didn't work. Do you really want to give up more picks to go get a quarterback that, listen, I like JJ McCarthy, but I'm not taking him this high. But the NFL clearly likes him more than us. So he's going to go this high. And this is a team that needs a quarterback. And I think this is a team that's willing to take that risk because they have such great weapons, because they have
Yep.
such great tackle play. And they fix up that defense with those signings. They have all this money because they didn't have to pay Kirk. Now they can go get a high ceiling quarterback and take that chance. Just like the Niners, maybe not to that extent, but still.
Well, now you see what they like. You've seen JJ McCarthy work with quote unquote more. Like you've seen guys go more with less. He's a guy who's worked with more. Like he's worked with a really good team in Michigan, and he just needed to play mistake-free football, and that's what he did. Like he made the plays they needed him to make, right? And they went 15-0 for a reason. In some really big spots, he was what they needed him to be. I agree with you. This I was expecting maybe pick six, but pick five. That's very possible. And yeah, if I'm the Chargers, why not accumulate some assets? The Vikings are willing to offer the farm. They were willing to do it last year for Anthony Richardson. I think they would do it again here. So yeah, give me a package. What are you thinking for what could go down?
So real quick, before we get down to the package, I want to ask this real quick. I was talking about Denver giving up all those picks. What are the odds Denver says, listen, we just gave up all those picks for Russell Wilson and it did not work. We have so many needs because Denver really does. I could
Mhm.
argue every position on that team is arguably a need, except for maybe tackle. And even then, the tackles aren't good. They're just okay, but they're being
And they're highly paid. Like
they're really overpaid, which is the problem.
yeah.
Mike McGlinchey contract obviously has not worked out so well. Garrett Bowles, I like, but
He's
still,
getting
that's
paid
one.
like top four, top five tackle money.
Exactly. So
He's
my
not.
question is, why give up all that to go trade? Why can't Denver say, let's have one bad year with the worst team in the league and see what happens in 2025?
Mhm.
And I
Agreed.
understand it's a rough QB class next year. It sounds like the NFL doesn't like it. Guys can develop, and even if not, I think you just have to take that risk because as of right now, you can't give up all this draft ammo, excuse me, when you are just this bad. I think
Yep.
they have to tank and be one of the worst teams in the league. The Vikings shouldn't. I think the Vikings are going to outbid them because I think they're willing to spend more on a quarterback than Denver because they have those assets already.
Yep.
I think if I'm Minnesota, you're so desperate. I think you could send in next year first.
Yep. That's fair. They might even give like a late pick too, like maybe like a fifth or like a
maybe like, 157 or something.
Yeah, maybe yeah, something like that. Maybe like some player, like some random, but
Something like
like
that. Maybe
maybe
like a, I don't know, what's the
uh,
business? Maybe they go, maybe like,
honestly, maybe not Dalton Risner. I was thinking maybe
well,
they
he's
could
a free agent also.
yeah.
Maybe Ned Ingram.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do Ed Ingram. I like this. Yeah, let's force
Okay.
that.
All
Boom.
right. What's the trade?
First trade, baby. We got the
First trade.
Vikings on the
Like I've been
clock. I
like I've been
wonder who
saying,
they're gonna
man.
take here. I wonder.
I'm kind of leading Jordan Travis. I won't lie with you. No, man, it's gonna be JJ
There
McCarthy.
we go. The
Colt said
Vikings
it well,
get their
man.
guy.
Colt said it well. Like, this is a guy who wasn't asked to do much because his team was so good, but he delivered in the moments where he was asked to do something. And he has the traits to be a good starter in this league. He has a nice arm. He throws with good zip.
Yeah.
He is shockingly, extremely accurate outside of the pocket. Super accurate when he's outside the pocket. He targets the middle of the field decently. However, there's some mechanical issues. There are some decision making issues.
Mhm.
Maybe his top tier arm strength isn't as good. He does throw a good zip. He'll underthrow a deep ball every now and then, which is a little bit of a problem. You saw that very clearly in the TCU game. I
Yep.
thought it improved from last year, but not to the extent of it's not a problem anymore. It is still a problem. This is higher than I would take him, but I think if you're the Vikings, I think this is okay. I don't love it. I think I'd give this like a C, but the thing is, you're in a position where you can do this. You
Yeah,
have,
and you can take a flyer on a guy like this, where it's
yeah,
not going to be the end of the world if he doesn't pan out. Like there's going to be a market for quarterbacks pretty much every year, and like the Vikings have a core that they've kind of set for the next like 2 to 3 years, and they need to do these type of splashes if they're going to contend in the NFC North. You already said it, so yeah,
absolutely. And this
pick
is a team
five.
where you don't
That's
need to start him right away too. You bring in Sam Darnold, who can be at least okay. Maybe JJ McCarthy, or not JJ McCarthy. Maybe Justin Jefferson isn't that happy, but what you can tell Jed is he won in college.
yeah,
He went 15-0 in college for a reason. You went 15-0 in college for a reason. Maybe that can give him a boost of confidence. Tell him the potential, man. Maybe you aren't good right away because Sam Darnold might hold you back. Year two is where things get interesting. I think 2025, that is when things will get interesting.
agreed. Now pick six. I've got an interesting spot. I think the Giants gotta go receiver here. I've been praying for them to do this like for so long. Now the question is, do I take Rome or Malik? It's really tough because I think Malik is just more of a guy that you'd want to play in the slot. And I think the Giants could use a guy that just can play, more outside. Um, I think Rome has been in conditions that are more similar to New York. So this is going to sound a little bit of like a nitpicking thing here, but I'm going to go Rome at pick six. Honestly, I've watched both. I'm really a toss up. I would probably have Malik too. Just like I think it's like a really like the only reason I would say that is because I think Rome played in an offense that was so good. Like they had three great receivers. The offensive line was there for a while. I mean, it's the same system for a bunch of years. That's why he looked really good. But that's the only thing. I mean, I don't even think Malik is like maybe like necessarily like that much better of a player. I just think Rome got his stuff boosted a little bit because of that. But the Giants get one of those guys. I think either one is fine for them here, and I'm praying one of them works out because, dude, they have not had a wide receiver one literally since Odell left in like 2019. So this is going to be exciting to see. But yeah, I just gave you pretty much a layup at pick seven. So
I
uh,
did, yes.
yeah.
Or you did, excuse me. um, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about Bill Callahan or not, but
Yo, dude. I mean, we've
I
talked
think we
enough
can
off
both
air.
I
It's
think we can both
bittersweet.
agree. I mean, he's one of the best to ever do it. And I said it just a few minutes ago. Joel is one of the best tackle prospects I have ever seen. This guy, there is no reason that he should move this well, have such great pad level for being 6'8", 6'8"
Look
and a
at that
half.
frame, bro. 6'8", 322. God.
Yep. This and young, 21 years old. Just, he's got it all, man. Maybe he doesn't have that high end ceiling of a Sewell, and that's why I do prefer Panay Sewell. You get in with Bill Callahan, and you're talking Pro Bowler right away. I mean, this team, they go out and get Calvin Ridley. You have DeAndre Hopkins. Hopefully, Traylon Burks can stay healthy. Hopefully, um, dude, they need help on that O line. You have Peter Skoronski at left guard, Joe Alt at left tackle. I think your blind side is secure, ready to go. You need to fix right tackle. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do it in free agency. Maybe you can get a Trent Browner. Maybe you can take a shot on a Mekhi Becton. Don't think that's the best long-term answer. Maybe you can get one in the second round, but as of right now, you have left tackle secured. You have left guard secured. That's important. Will Levis's blind side is fine. And I
There
think
we
that's
go.
what's best for the Titans.
I agreed. Now, pick 8. This is where we go first defensive player. I think the Falcons, as of right now, barring anything crazy, should go edge. I think edge is probably where I would go. Now the question is, do I go? I'm looking at that top 3. Now, you and I have, edge one pretty much locked up. I think I'm torn between Turner and Verse, actually, but I think they end up going Dallas Turner. I think that's probably where they end up going. Um, it's really tough. Like I think Verse honestly has a little bit more upside, but Dallas, everything was there. The production, he passed tests in the combine. He's got great size. He's got a good frame. I think they got to take a defensive player here, kind of add to that Raheem Morris arsenal. Considering how much money they gave Kirk Cousins. But yeah, you get a cheap player who's got a lot of upside, obviously, and I think that's where they got to go here.
When was the last time they had like a true dominant edge one? Like Dante Fowler that one
But
year?
yeah, or like Vic Beasley in like
Vic
2018.
Beasley in years, like years ago, dude. This has been a bad. I mean, they've taken shots on guys like Arnold Epiketti and Zach Harrison, but haven't
Hmm.
really worked out the best. Those were two high ceiling guys, and unfortunately, just haven't quite hit that development yet.
Yep.
That was Turner. I mean, just stupid banana long arms, just stupidly long arms. Measured in about 35-inch arms at the combine, just wild arm length, and it shows on tape. He has that long reach that he uses. Maybe he isn't the most refined pass rusher, so maybe it's going to take a year. But under Raheem Morris, I do think it is going to work pretty well.
Agreed. So now pick 9. What do you do here? What's the strat?
So this is interesting. A lot of people have been pushing for a tackle for the Bears, and Talisi Fuaga is skyrocketing up boards right now. I'm
Hmm.
not as high on him. I do have him OT6 in this draft, and that's not
OT6.
that's
Wow.
and I don't think that's a shot on him. I think all these guys first round talents. I think there's 6, 7 first round talent tackles in this draft. This is the best tackle draft I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Like that's the thing about this draft, man. The two most valuable and loved positions in football, it seems like on the offensive side of the ball, besides quarterback, tackle and receiver, two of the best positions I've ever seen in a draft class. And I think you could legit argue in all of them in any order, except for probably Joe Alt being number one. But I think if you're the Bears, man, you can't take a tackle. I like Braxton Jones at left tackle. You drafted Darnold right to be a right tackle. You need more weapons, man. You have DJ Moore. You let go of Darnell Mooney. I think Malik Neighbors plugs in right away.
There we go. Yep,
Wide
that's what I
receiver
wanted.
too for the new Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams. I think this is the best. I think I might say the take now. This might be the best position a first overall quarterback has ever been put into. You're
Hmm.
going to have a solid offensive line. You're going to have a dynamic wide receiver one, wide receiver two combo. You have Cole Kmet. You bring in a new play caller. The defense was playing so well last year. They have a great
Their run
second.
defense is so good. I think people
Yes,
need to
that
like
defense was playing
so
very
good.
well. Maybe they need more help on that defensive line. I think the linebackers are good enough for now. Maybe they overpaid, but they're still decent players. The secondary is very good. The offensive line's underrated, and you have all the weapons you want. You bring in DeAndre Swift, who I mean, whatever, but like still, like you're gonna have a valuable run game, and you bring in a quarterback with as high of a ceiling as Caleb. We could be looking at a Super Bowl contender in 2025. We could.
Agreed. So now I get the Jets attack. Okay, look, just show me the tackles. I mean, this is like literally, I think the most guaranteed.
First round, first round, first round, first round, first round. These guys could go in the first round. I mean,
My
just
God. So
stupid.
I think I'm torn between two guys, and that's gonna be J.C. Latham and Fuaga. So the reason why I'm gonna say Fuaga is I've watched Fatanu and Fuaga a lot, and the reason I have Fuaga over Fatanu is that Fatanu again benefited from having such a good line around him. Fuaga was kind of on an island at that right tackle spot. And yes, glad you picked Fuaga there because Fuaga is just a plug and play. Like you can automatically put him in at right tackle. I don't like his transition to left. I don't know if he'd be able to. But he's just kind of a plug and play, and obviously you see it 6'6", 334. I think he's a guy that you can just put right away. And Bakhtiar is probably going to New York in some way, shape, or form. So, and Bakhtiari is a plug and play left. Well, barring if he can stay healthy, but Fuaga is a guy that you can just plug in at that right tackle spot. He's not super big like Mekhi Becton, but he has a really good frame to him. So yeah, I go Fuaga at 10 here.
I have an interesting thought. You have potentially David Bakhtiari at left tackle. You trade for Morgan Moses for a
Mm,
right tackle. You have Joe Tippmann at center. You have, in my opinion, the most underrated player in football, Elijah Vera Tucker, who is criminally underrated and a
yep.
top 10 guard when healthy. No question about it. Fuaga could plug in real nice at that guard spot with how powerful he is, with how great of a run blocker he is. This is a guy who's going to get down in the trenches and be mean. That's the thing about Fuaga, man. He's just mean, mean, mean. Just going to get in your face and kick you, spit on you, make fun of you, talk to you. Just going to be mean. And it's always nice to have those interior. And for the Jets, if that all happens, you're immediately going from one of the worst offensive lines in the league to Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers is potentially, healthy, coming off that Achilles, maybe not going to be able to move that well. He still has that arm, I guarantee you. Maybe you're looking for another weapon, but I think the Jets have to go all in for this year. And I think getting Fuaga is perfect for that.
That was a really good point about him playing guard because, like, you're right. They get Moses, and so the Jets have tried to rebuild their O line in a year for the last 3 years, and it's frustrated me so much. But they finally have a core where I feel like they could actually do that. Like, yes, if
Yep.
they get Bakhtiari and they do what you say, they put maybe Fuaga at guard, right? They have AVT, who I agree with you, really good, even though he's from USC. That's fine, whatever. But they can put Fuaga there too, and yeah, you're looking at actually a really cohesive offensive line. It's exciting to see. But now you get pick 11 here with the Chargers. Do they get to fall with their guy that they could have even taken at 5?
I think they do.
Mm-hmm. I think we're
Brock Bowers
there we go.
is not only, you know what, that you see this right here, that TE. Get that off my screen. Brock Bowers is not a tight end. Brock Bowers is a weapon. He is an offensive weapon. This guy has outside ability, has slot ability. A lot of people question, can he play inline? He goes in at the combine, measures in at 6'3.5", 242, which is much better than what I thought it was going to be. I was hoping he would crack 235. I was more predicting about 230. He measures in at 242. Makes me so happy. I think he can play in line. This is a guy who dominated from inline in college, dominated from the slot. He's been the best tight end in college football for 3 years. And I would argue maybe the greatest college football tight end of all time. We're talking about a guy, a three-time All-American, two-time first-team unanimous All-American, two-time John Mackey Award winner. No one's ever won that award twice. Just a versatile weapon, man. He's got it all, man. Just if Debo was a tight end, if Debo was labeled tight end, that's Brock Bowers, man. Just breaks every tackle thrown at him, makes the most ridiculous catches. I remember playing against Auburn. Beck threw it behind him. He goes back, catches it one hand, and just reels it in. And I'm like, this dude's a tight end. This dude is just unbelievable, without question, up there with Kyle Pitts in terms of the best tight end prospects we've ever seen. Maybe you could argue Pitts is a bit better because he is, maybe a higher ceiling with that
Yeah.
natural, just unreal height and speed combo, along with those just never drops a pass. Bowers does struggle in contested situations, unlike a Pitts, but just a dude who gets open and just unreal speed. Just he's got almost everything you want in a modern tight end.
That's I think you took everything I was gonna say. I agree with you. I think that at 11, I think the Chargers would be ecstatic if this were to happen.
Greg Roman loves his tight ends, and so does Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh heavily recruited Brock Bowers coming out of high school. He gets his wish, and he gets him back with, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert.
Yep. Pick 12. This one could
This
be
one
very
is.
interesting. I have three options I'm thinking. Now, I'll just give me a little reaction on each of them. One is I think they could go edge at 12. They just stay here and take edge.
Yep.
Two is they trade down and try and acquire more assets, right? Just as you were saying, build back what they lost. Three is the crazy one I'm thinking. They had a lot of scouts at Bo Nix's pro day. They
Oh,
had a lot of scouts at Bo Nix's pro day. They had a lot of scouts there.
maybe they were there for Troy Franklin.
Do they reach and take Bo Nix at 12? Do I have the balls to do it? I could just do it for the memes. And you know what? I'm going to do it. Give me Bo
Oh
Nix
man.
at 12. Because see, the
Oh.
easy thing could be, oh my God, they could take Jared Verse. What a great player, right? Florida State, all the upside in the world. No, it's Denver. Let's spice it up a bit. Let's give them Bo Nix at 12. And you know what? If this was Oregon versus Cal 2022, you are getting an absolute mauler of a player. But unfortunately, the NFL is not Oregon versus Cal 2022. It's a lot different than that. Or Oregon versus Cal 2023 when they hung 63 on us. But whatever. No, it is not that. The NFL is a lot scarier. And Bo Nix, I personally, again, this is more of a mock draft of what we think will happen, not what we think should happen. So, Bo Nix, my third option there. What do you think?
I mean, it's a move. It's definitely a move. If they did this, this could really hurt their potential as a
Mm-hmm.
franchise, and Sean Payton maybe working his way out of the picture. If he walks up to that front office and says, "This is my guy, I want him," and he doesn't work out,
Over.
yikes, that
Over.
is
That
not
front
going to
office.
be good.
Mm-mm.
And this is a team that has not made the playoffs in a very long time as well. And they're looking like one of the worst teams in the league and potentially not going to make a playoff run for a little while now. But listen, I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan. I can say
I'm
that
not either,
confidently.
but
However,
pick 12, baby.
I think there is a word where he can become a Brock Purdy, where he can become a serviceable quarterback. Where if you get him in the right position and you build around him, he can be viable. However, once again, I know you wouldn't do this, and neither would I, but this is something that they can absolutely do. Like you said, they had many scouts at that Oregon Pro Day. Unfortunately, I don't think they were there for Troy Franklin or Brendan Dorless. I think they were there for Bo Nix,
Yep.
star quarterback from Oregon. The dinosaur played a lot of college games. I believe over 50 career college games out of this kid.
Played in
Just
so many.
experience, man. He's seen about everything you can probably throw at him. So at least that's something I can say for when he gets in the NFL. He may be able to recognize a good amount of stuff. But overall, man, just not the biggest fan, but this is something that can absolutely happen.
And we started with a bang. So now 13, pick 13. I might have given you a lot of a better selection. I think the Raiders could go a lot of ways here.
They can. And I think they could go tackle. I think, as much as I don't like it, I think Penix could be an option. I'm not going
Are we
to
gonna see back to back? Are we gonna see five quarterbacks go in the top 13?
top 13. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think Penix
Agreed.
has, even though Penix was cleared with those medicals at the combine, he has red flags besides that. He's got some mobility questions. And, 4 season ending injuries is something to worry about, even if your medicals are clean. So, something to worry about. So, I don't think they go quarterback here. You bring in Gardner Minshew, you have Aiden O'Connell. Maybe you can get a Spencer Rattler in the third round to kind of throw into
That's what
that
I would probably do. I
kind of
think
throw
Minshew
into
is a
that
great pick.
QB battle. And maybe if you're lucky, you can get a Michael Penix on the second round. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But you could go so many different ways. You could go defensive tackle. You could go linebacker. If unfortunately Payne Wilson, who has been getting a lot of hype, probably not going to go this high, but my opinion, a first round talent. You could
Agreed.
even go tackle. I mean, Alu Fashanu, Troy Fatanu, these are all guys who can plug in right away. I mean, even a JC Latham. I mean, this tackle class is stupid. You sign Christian Wilkins, you have Max Crosby, you have Tyree Wilson. I think you want to beat Mahomes, you got to get him under pressure. I think, to me, Byron Murphy is skyrocketing up boards right now
Ooh,
with
ho, ho,
that great
ho.
athleticism. He's a bigger guy who produced big time next to Devondre Sweat at Texas. A lot of people is DT1 right now. I'm still a believer in Josiah Newton DT1. Or Johnny, he wants to be called Johnny. Johnny Newton DT1, but Byron does, without question, have the highest ceiling of any D tackle, arguably in the draft. Just special athlete with great movement skills and produced at a high level this year. I think you pair him next to Christian Wilkins. You have Max Crosby. Hopefully, Tyree Wilson can take a jump. That is a scary
That is
pass.
so scary. You're gonna get Crosby, Wilkins, Murphy, and if Tyree Wilson can finally pay out, holy hell. Like that
Malcolm
would
Coots.
be, I mean, that's a young core that you get for 3 to 4 years at the
Yep.
minimum. Like
Yep.
that, oh my God, that would be very scary. I was thinking corner also possibly, but
Corner's another possibility. Yep.
yeah, Byron Murphy there. Ooh, absolute stud. I think the Saints here, I think a tackle honestly just falls to him. Now I see the three there. Out of these three, my favorite is actually JC Latham. So I'm probably gonna take him at 14. Um, I think Trevor Penning did not work out. I was
Shout out you and I, man, but couldn't
was
get him.
not a fan, and glad to say we were both right. But this guy, look at it. I mean, literally the same build as Fuaga, except like yeah, Latham. He's got good. I would say like he's got really good play speed laterally. And he's a really young, really good player. I think he honestly you could plug him in and play right away. And I think the Saints really have since the whole era where it was like Pete and yeah, Andres Pete and like I'm literally forgetting Ryan Ramczyk. Like they used to have some really good offensive linemen. Hopefully they can kind of usher in a new era of that. It used to be Armstead, Ramczyk, Andres Pete. Like they used to have some studs, man. But yeah, JC Latham goes to the Saints.
And something I am glad about, I'm glad he didn't weigh in at 360 at the combine because that is something I was scared of. He weighed in at 360 at Alabama. I'm glad he dropped weight. I wanted to be around 335, 340. He weighed in at about I don't know if that's true. I recall him being about 341, but
Mhm.
still, that's about the
Still a
range I
lot
want
better.
to be. Yes. And I mean, just a mauler, dude. I mean, just great strength. He moves decently well. Former 5-star recruit, I believe he was a top 5 player in his recruiting class. I mean, listen, he's an Alabama tackle. Usually you're going to have a good chance with those guys. And I think you can plug him in right away and he can be a great starter. Even with those penalty concerns, he's had about 17 penalties in the last 2 years. I think if you can clean that up, you can get a great player from JC Latham. Colts here at 15. So
I
you would
see a guy. I see a guy I would take.
Me too, but you would have asked me this about a few days ago. I would have said Cooper DeJean think plugs in right away, but unfortunately, I think with the re-signing of Kenny Moore,
Anymore, yeah.
you're not going to be able to get the best out of DeJean because, in my opinion, DeJean is a versatile defensive player who can play slot, outside, and in the box. I think Kenny Moore is locked in the slot, so maybe you're just going to have to stick him and the boundary. And listen, I think he can do it at a high level, but if you want to get that true ceiling from DeJean, I think he needs to be a versatile piece. And unfortunately, I don't think you'll get the most out of that. So, in my opinion, you're going to go with my CB2, and that's Quinyon Mitchell.
That's the guy.
I mean, just stupid athleticism. Just dumb. Like he's a freak. Like that's all you can really say. 27 pass breakups in 2 seasons.
That's insane. Like
Wild.
his
Just
his
wild. I
his
mean,
like his
insanity.
projection went literally like it shot up like a cannon starting Senior Bowl.
Just
Like it
bam.
went, yeah, it was crazy. I
He
mean, yeah,
every single possible thing he has done since the season has ended has done nothing but positives. On tape, you saw he plays a lot of off coverage. Are they hiding him from press? Is he going to be able to press in the NFL? And then he goes to the Senior Bowl and he's the best corner there, and he presses everybody there. He's out here pressing.
easily the best corner there.
Rowan Wilson had arguably the best wide receiver Senior Bowl. Rowan Wilson was asked in an interview who is the hardest corner out here, and without hesitation, he said Quinyon Mitchell.
That
Just he's
easily.
got it all, man. I would argue outside of DeJean, maybe the highest ceiling of any corner in the class. Maybe as a pure boundary corner, he does have the highest ceiling. He's got the length, he's got the size, the athleticism, the crazy ball production. He's shown the ability that he can play press. Maybe not the most, so maybe you can still have some questions about that. But I think the Senior Bowl put a lot of those questions to bed, and I would be surprised if he's not a top 15 pick.
Now 16 Seattle. I have two options, and I want to let you or hear your thoughts on it. I think they can either go Johnny Newton and try and replace that disaster that was Draymond Jones, Or they go Troy Fatanu. Now, hear me out because they obviously have Cross and Lucas, but they could put a guy like Troy as a guard. So that's, and then obviously I see Jared Verse quote unquote slipping. I mean, I haven't done that many mocks. I don't really know how far he's kind of gone. So I guess, yeah, that's a third option here. I mean, yeah, Seattle, it's like, because they don't really have, I mean, they've been lacking like that game changing edge. I do believe they still have Nwosu, if I'm not mistaken.
They do, and they also have Boy Mafe, who is
Yeah,
good
which
this
yeah, so they're banking on kind of like that, upside from those two. I think it really comes down to Johnny Newton and Fatanu. I mean, they did just hire Washington's offensive coordinator, so
year. They
maybe
did. That's
get
what I was
him.
thinking. Yep.
So, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do Troy. Let's do Troy here, and they probably play him at guard. Um, I think that's again. We watched him. I see the grade against Cal, but yeah, no. I mean, when we played him, he's just so fast. I mean, like, dude, they move so quick and so in unison. It was just so frustrating because it's like, how do these guys do it? I just can't understand. Yeah, see, like, it's totally right. I mean, like what they're saying, I completely agree. And it was hell to game plan for. I mean, we watched hours and hours of film on this guy, and it was like, yeah, dude, he's stupid good. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but whatever. Put him in at guard, and just let him cook. Honestly, I think Seattle would be happy with that.
Absolutely. I mean, the Washington connections are going to be real. You
Yeah,
keep him in the same state, keep him in the same state, and he doesn't have to go that far. So
exactly.
good for Seattle, man. I mean, you're getting a very good player. Jacksonville at 17 is where things get interesting. So they unfortunately did the move of signing Gabe Davis to a very hefty contract, which was not
39
fun.
mil,
They
bro.
also gave Darnell Savage a very hefty contract, which I also did not love. However, I will give them, sorry, Jaguars fans, I'll give them credit for this. You bring in Mitch Morse at a very good contract, a deal that
That
I
was
did like. That was a very good deal. So it does bring you out of the Jackson Powers Johnson
agreed.
question,
Agreed.
as well as the fact that you're restructuring Brendan Scherf, you re-signed Ezra Cleveland, you have Anton Harrison going into his second year. I still think you can use a tackle need, and I understand you have Cam Robinson, but the fact of the matter is, Aluf Fashanu is still on the board, and for me, the highest ceiling of any tackle in this year's draft is Aluf Fashanu.
There we
Just
go.
unbelievable movement skills. Maybe he's not as refined as a pass or as a pass protector as we thought. JT Tulamalawa, you see right here, did give him some problems in both of the years they played at Ohio State. You can tell he struggles with power. However, this is something that can be taught. He has rare gifts that you just don't find in the average tackle. He's a bigger guy at 6'6", 320. Just, I mean, we see right here, like one of the best athletes on the field. Just, he's got
That just
everything.
makes me glad knowing I won't have to see Walker Little step on T-Law's ankle again. That's all I need to hear. Because
Oh,
now
I have
for
a
sure I
friend.
won't see him out there. So
I have a friend who's gonna hate that sentence right there. As a big Walker Little fan, but I agree.
probably a
Unfortunately,
Stanford fan, I'm guessing. I'm not a I
unfortunately, yes. But no, man, Alu he's got special traits, man, that you just don't find. He's one of the youngest prospects in this draft as well. Just turning 21 not long ago. Super smart player, good kid. He wants to work hard. My shout out my friend Max Chadwick of PFF. He interviewed him, said he was a wonderful kid. Went back to school just to get his master's degree. Could have gone to the NFL and made millions, and he said, "No, I want to go get my master's degree because that's what I promised my family." Did it. Didn't hurt his draft stock all that much. Maybe he wasn't that top 5 pick that we thought. Still a first round talent without question. I think the Jaguars are getting a cornerstone left tackle if he works out.
So now I get the Bengals at 18. I think if they didn't sign Rankins and they're still in the running for DJ Reader, I think Johnny Newton would have been a lock here. But um, now I think they're a lock for corner. And I'm looking at the three. I'm looking at Cooper, I'm looking at Nate, and I'm looking at Terrion. This might throw you in for a loop. I'm really torn. I don't think they would take DeJean here. I think they
I don't
want
think
a
they would
guy
either.
that they would for sure play outside, and I think that's either Arnold or Wiggins. Um, I'm torn between the two. I would probably take Wiggins, I think. I think that's probably where I'd go, but I think I honestly think Arnold is slightly the better player, but I think wait, what did Wiggins weigh or list at his height? What did they put him at? Six, yeah.
Six. I believe he was about 6'2". However, he weighed in at 173, which
Ooh.
is the lightest corner in the league. However, maybe he does play with a bit more weight,
Yeah, I
but
mean that's easy to like NFL strength guys can easily do that. What did Terry on Arnold I don't remember his height.
I don't. He was about. I remember him being 6 foot. I do remember that he
Okay.
was like 6 foot flat.
I think mm, okay, I think just because of I think I would probably go Arnold here then. Let's go
Yep.
Arnold here. I think both are good. I did think Arnold was actually the better player anyway. So, I'm gonna go Arnold here. And they get a corner because obviously we literally talked about it, how they were just weak at that spot. Again, would have gone interior D line if they what do you call it, didn't get Rankins and are not going for Reader, but I think the Bengals would be happy with this.
I actually have Taron Arnold at CB6
Wow,
or
interesting.
CB5. Excuse me. CB5. Excuse me. Oh, hold on. Let me think. It would be Dejean Quinion. Then I have Kool-Aid at 3. Then Wiggins at 4. And then yeah, I guess Taron Arnold at 5. I mean, I just think he goes after the ball way too much. I think he's super risky. And yes, that can be a positive because, it's always good to get the ball back, but teams picked on him a little bit. No one threw the ball at Kool-Aid this year because, no one just threw the ball at him because he's so technically refined and you don't get open against him. But Terrion is the athlete. He has the higher ceiling, but I think he went after the ball a little too much. I have a late first round grade on him, but then again, I just think they need a guy who's a pure boundary. If you're scared of Nate Wiggins' size, I get it. That's why I get Arnold here. I think it's a solid pick. Rams here at
19. Come on,
19.
this gotta. I'm thinking one player and one player only. I really hope we're on the same page here. You literally, I'm seeing him. I'm seeing him down there.
One of my favorite players in the draft. I think he's a top 8 player in the draft, man. I really do. I think he's that special of a pass rusher.
Come
I,
on, there
I
we
love this.
go.
I love this kid, man, and it pains me as a Cardinal fan that I'm gonna have to play this guy twice a year, possibly. Latu. I mean, listen, man,
Oh my
he's been the
God.
best defense. He's been the best defensive player in college football the past 2 years, and I don't really think that's really going to get disputed. The second highest PFF grade they've ever given an edge rusher, only behind 2019 Chase Young. That means something. That's going to mean something to NFL teams. Just stupid productive as a pass rusher. Maybe the most polished pass rusher I've ever seen come out of a draft. Like I saw Jalen Phillips come out and he was very refined, but I think Latu is just a better version of him. And I love Jalen Phillips, but I think Latu is just better. Um, maybe he's not great in the run. He definitely did improve from last year, which is something you like to see. Tested better than you would think. He tested as about an 89% athlete, which is very good. It pains me, man. It absolutely pains me. I love this kid. I think he's a day one star pass rusher. It hurts. This is an A plus pick. I think this is the pick of the draft. I think it
Yeah.
is.
Thank God we're thinking the same wave, dude. Because look, I
Oh,
think
it
this is
hurts. It
probably the
hurts.
Pac-12 player that I've raved about the most. That's not on Cal. I think this is like, I was asked again, who would like if I could add any Pac-12 player on my team, I would. Going back, I'd probably add Caleb to the Browns, but look, this guy would be right up there because holy crap, God, dude, his tape is just phenomenal. Like, and
Six
obviously,
games, 6 games with a 90 plus PFF grade. Six.
God, just a
Wild.
this is going if the Rams get him and they haven't had a first round pick literally in what 7 years, dude, since I've been
Jared Goff. Jared Goff.
yeah, dude, like literally since him.
8
So,
years, man.
dude, and if they do it with this guy, mm, hats off. This could be
26
it.
pass rush win rate, dude. I mean, jeez.
That's 26 is
26% pass
insane.
rush win
Like I think
rate.
Miles was around what 27 to 28 or something. Like it was like
Something like that, dude.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
like
you see
that's
the grades, dude. I mean, look at this. Like say whatever you want about PFF grades, like led the country in sacks in over the last 2 years, led the country in pressures over the last 2 years, was near the top in double team percentage. Just he's got everything you want as a pass rusher. Maybe he isn't the most athletic dude, but he's so refined that there's no way he isn't at least a top 15 edge rusher. Is he ever going to be top 5? I don't know, but I know he
His floor
can
is
be.
so high.
I
Like
know he will be a good player in the league. Unless injury, he will be a good player in this league. There's no doubt in my mind.
medical concerns, man. It sucks that we even have to bring it up, but it really is something to consider. The Steelers are really interesting.
I'm on two guys right now. I'm on two.
I've mocked DeJean to them a lot. I have. I would think him or show me the tackles available because they did just get Broad Jones, so I don't like. I mean, yeah, if they were to go, it would probably be Mims, but I mean, like I think he only had like 8 starts in college or something. Um, there's, but like 6'7", 340, man. I mean, how do you pass that up?
He has, I mean, look at the snap count for his
Yeah,
career.
like that is
Less than a
not a lot.
thousand snaps in his career, which
That is
is
not a lot.
scary, to worry about. But the tape is truly like, you want to see him at his best. He locked down Ohio State. Like, I understand Ohio State did a really good job on the Buckeyes. Dude, he was the best player for them in that game, I would argue, for Georgia. He was locked down against the Buckeyes.
I think another guy you could go with is Jackson Powers Johnson.
They
So
need a center.
I think that's probably where they go. I will probably draft him here. I was really thinking DeJean, but I'm cool with them saying no. Let's just get our center here. Let's build this offensive line. Let's get back to that Steelers run game. I think that's kind of what they go with here.
Um, Listen, is he a Linderbaum prospect? Me personally, I don't think so.
Oh,
Does he have the ceiling of a Creed Humphrey? Does he have the ceiling of a Linderbaum? I don't think so. Jackson Powers Johnson is going to be a top 10 center in the NFL right away. I think I can say that very confidently. I mean, a big dude, man. I mean, this isn't true. Weighed in about 335. It's about 6'3", massive center. Was in like the 99 percentile for weight. Was in about the 86 percentile for height. He's a big dude, clean in pass protection. He gets in the run game. He has the athleticism. He's going to be a good player. And for a team that I think has some good guards, you have James Daniels and you have Isaac Samalu on roster. You have Broderick Jones. I think those are 4 offensive linemen that, the Steelers' offensive line has been pretty bad the last few years, but there was a time when they had maybe the best offensive line in football for a very long time. When they had Pouncey, when they had David
Castro.
DeCastro, when they
Mm-hmm.
had those boys. And I think the Steelers are rebuilding that amazingly. Dolphins at 21 could go
They're
with a lot.
probably really mad that Powers
They
Johnson.
are really upset, unfortunately, that Jackson Powers Johnson is gone because, good Lord, do they need him after losing Connor. I think you can go a lot of things. I think corner is a massive need with losing Xavier Howard. I think edge is also a need. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips cannot stay healthy. You need more guys. But at the end of the day, and you could also say tackle is a need as well. But I just think the fact you lost Christian Wilkins in free agency, you need a replacement. You want to know how good Johnny Wilson is? Just go watch him versus Penn State because he ripped them apart. He ripped them to shreds. And, there's a lot of people kind of doubting him, saying, maybe he's fallen off a bit. I still think he's a high floored player, and I think he offers a high ceiling. I think he can be a top 10 D tackle in football. I love this kid. I think he's a great character as well. Based on the interviews I've seen, my friend Max, who interviewed him, said he's an awesome dude. Everybody at the combine loved him as well. You got to get a Christian Wilkins replacement. I think the offensive line, really, I think their tackles are set, man. I think you have Teron Armstead who's coming back. Austin Jackson had a nice little breakout year. You can get interior guys later in the rounds. I think there's a good amount that can fall. It's hard to get D tackles, and I think they get one here with Johnny Newton.
I like that. I think that's a great replacement. Philly. Philly has a very like I think they have so many ways they could go here. Um I think they could go like I think them taking Bryce Huff because okay, honestly, like BPA for me right now is probably between Cooper and Verse, I would say. Like I really like Jared Verse. I just don't know that Philly goes with him just because they still have like Brandon Graham. I mean, Josh Sweat's probably out the door. They'll probably keep one of Sweat and Reddick. I just don't know if they would like they love adding to the D line, obviously. I just don't know.
Right.
I Philly could go a lot of ways here.
I think Wiggins could also be a good fit as
Yeah,
well.
I think they got to go with the corner. I think that's where I'm leaning. So I'm leaning DeJean or Wiggins. I mean, do you really want to keep playing Bradbury on the outside? No. So
No,
I
not at
think
all.
Wiggins. It's gonna be between Wiggins and Kool-Aid. I think they go Wiggins here though, because yeah, they need that size. I think Slay is a great teacher for someone like him, right? To kind of, teach him how to move at his size. And again, any NFL strength staff can put weight on a dude. Like that's never a problem. 6'2", you cannot, you can't teach. So that's
4.2
something.
as well. I mean, a 4.29. Like, and that speed does show up on tape. He is legitimately fast. Now,
Yeah.
maybe he's not 4.2 fast, but on tape, I did see 4.3 speed. I saw late 4.3 speed. I mean, he's a freak, man. Like we look at the top corners in the draft outside of Kool-Aid, who's still a good athlete. DeJean, Arnold, Terrion, what am I saying? Quinion, sorry, Quinion, and then all those boys. Like these are fantastic athletes with
Yep.
insane upside. Wiggins has an argument to be one of the best athletes up there with him, even with his frame concerns. Like I love this pick a lot. They need a boundary corner. Unfortunately, James Bradbury, you are burnt toast. So gotta get Nate Wiggins up.
Please, let's not see him. This isn't like 2020 with the Giants. It's
Yeah,
your
let's
time is
get him out of there. You were good with Gannon, and then stuff went down.
up.
Texans here. You would ask me once again. I said this earlier before we started the pod. Cole, like Jared versus sprint the card in, but unfortunately, you got Daniil
Daniil
Hunter.
Hunter, yeah, dude. If they
You got
had Jared
Daniil
versus
Hunter.
23, I would have been so mad. And then you know what? No, let's make it even worse. Let's get Daniil Hunter.
Let's
Thank
get
you,
Daniil
Texans.
Hunter. Let's get a top 15 edge in the league, along with Will Anderson, who had a fantastic rookie season as well.
God, I hate the
Pass rush
Texans.
is going to be scary, man, and I think the Texans are making something dangerous. I think getting a wide receiver would help a lot. You have Nico Collins. You have Tank Dell coming off the injury. I know they have Noah Brown. I think they could use another outside guy. You have Tank in the slot. You have Nico. Brian Thomas is interesting, much similar to Nico, another bigger dude who
Yeah,
relies on those vertical routes. I'm not as high in Brian Thomas. I think he has some hip fluidity questions that will limit him as a route runner that, I've questioned because, the LSU offense was really limited as a route tree. That's why I do prefer Roma Dunzy over Malik Neighbors. I think a Dunzy, I saw a full tree from a Dunzy. I didn't really see it with Neighbors. I'd expect that he can do it because I do think he creates more separation than a Dunzy. But I do think then that's not the main debate. But the point is with Brian Thomas is I didn't see much of a route tree, and I'm not too sure if he can
agreed. No,
expand
no,
it
I agree
because
with
of the hips. That's why I'm not as big on him. I think Glad McConkey is a slot player. I think Keon Coleman would make a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, I do think AD Mitchell would be fantastic with this team. He's been skyrocketing upwards ever since the
you. Ever since
combine.
the combine, he's been crazy.
I mean, he's a great man. He doesn't drop the football. That's all I can say. AD Mitchell, a lot of people compare him to CD, and I think that's a little. Let's calm
A little
down.
far fetched. A little
Let's
far
let's
fetched.
calm down. CD being arguably a top 5 receiver in the game, but no, man. AD Mitchell, you plug him in right away, and the fact that he's arguably the fourth best option right away behind Nico, Tank, and Dalton Schultz. You have Joe Mixon in the backfield. You have CJ Stroud. That could be a scary offense.
So now I get the Cowboys. The Cowboys. All right. I'm down
Staring
to.
someone down.
So
Oh,
I have a few options. I don't know if you're gonna agree with me on some of these. So I think one. So the Cowboys value game experience a lot. I don't think they would take Mims if they were to take a tackle. I think Guyton would be the guy if they were to take a tackle. Oklahoma, he would be a right tackle because Cowboys fans out there, when I say this, Terrence Steele should not be playing football in 2024.
no. Get him
Um,
out. Get him
yeah,
out.
like they hate him over there. But the thing is, I mean, you have Jared Verse right there. I think it's really torn between those two guys. I think that's what it comes down to. And it's really just like what do they want to do? With Tyron Smith going and with, Tyler Smith, I think kind of solidified there now at that left tackle spot, and you want Terrence Steele to go, I think you end up going with Guyton here. That's probably what I would do. It's just, yeah, it's between Guyton and Verse, but I think I'll go Guyton. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Because I am curious. Like,
I'm I'm not the biggest Son guy in. However, if there is one team that can take him in the first round, that I'd be okay with. It's a team who just took another offensive lineman I wasn't as high on, who had this crazy upside. Now he's a Pro Bowler in Tyler Smith. And how ironic is it that this guy's name is Tyler as well? Tyler
Tyler,
Guy, he's got the tools, man. He's got all the tools you look for. And I think Mims does as well. And that's why I would take Mims. However, Guyton, you could argue, does have more upside than a guy like Amarius Mims. Guyton, listen, he's got a lot of work to be done on him, but so did Tyler Smith. And this was a guy that they developed for a year. Had a little bit of an up and down rookie year. I thought it got a little overrated, but that second year, he
he
really did
killed
turn it
it.
on.
He killed it.
He absolutely destroyed it. And Tyler Guyton, I mean, you see the PFF grade, like just and like it kind of speaks on. I know maybe you shouldn't run away with PFF grades, but it does show on tape as well. He was really up and down. His mechanics are a problem. Maybe his footwork gets too wide. I think his hand placement needs some work, but you get in this coaching staff, maybe something good can happen. And I would lean towards I think something good can happen.
We're seeing some guys kind of slip. I
We
mean,
are seeing some guys fall, which is a little crazy. All right, Green Bay.
what do we do here?
Green Bay. Green Bay. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a shocker pick. A little
Okay.
bit of a shocker. I think, and Packer fans are gonna scream at me and they're gonna get mad. I don't think Cooper DeJean is a good fit for them. I don't. I don't think Cooper DeJean is a great fit for them. They want him so badly. They want him more than anybody. It's crazy. I don't think he's a great fit. This is a team that runs a lot of man coverage, and
Mhm.
DeJean is a good man player. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I would leave him on an island and press the whole game, like I've been saying, and I'll explain DeJean later on or once we pick him. But I just don't think he's a great scheme fit, and I think this team needs a safety badly. Maybe you could argue Cooper DeJean is a safety. I don't think he'd be using him at his best if he was just a safety. So I think Tyler Nubin, the best safety in the draft.
Woo.
What if I told you Tyler Nubin had more? Okay. What if I told you Tyler Nubin had more pass breakups and interceptions combined than catches allowed?
That's insane.
Tyler Nubin, his passer rating would have been better if you spiked the ball on every play rather than throwing the ball to Tyler Nubin. Now, the question is, he's a bit of an older safety. I believe he's, 22. I thought he was 24. He's almost 23, so not as old, but still. Bit of an older guy. This is a guy you want covering tight ends, dude.
It's
Maybe he
crazy
doesn't have
because
the
he
speed.
was he was like literally the Winfield replacement, and now we've seen like what Winfield's done. Like, and we've seen, dude. I guess Minnesota, the Gophers are the what do you call it? The safety school, I guess. I mean,
Absolutely. They've been
yeah.
doing a good job of it recently with Winfield, and now they got Tyler Nubin out here who has been rising the boards. And I think if any team in the first round is going to take a safety, I think it's Green Bay. Because unfortunately, I don't think Nubin gets to you with your second round pick. So I love Tyler Nubin. I think he's the best safety in the draft. Cam Kitchens, another guy I really like, but unfortunately, injuries. He had a test. He tested really, really poorly, and I understand safety is a position that usually doesn't test well, but he tested worse than the other safeties, and he also wasn't good in the drills, and also he wasn't as good as he was last year. So maybe he's fallen towards the second or maybe even third round. But I think Tyler Nubin's the best safety in the draft. Packer fans, scream at me all you want. I love Coop. Don't get me wrong. I just think you need a pure safety who you can cover tight ends with, and I think that's Tyler Nubin.
The Buccaneers.
I mean,
Okay.
holy cow! I
Yeah.
mean, holy cow!
I think that's where you gotta go, right? Like,
It's just too obvious.
but the thing is they invested in Cansey and Logan Hall, right? In the last like two drafts or whatever. But
Yeah,
how do you not take Jared Verse here if he's at 26?
you can't pass on
I
Jared.
just can't I can't. So yeah, let's put him in there. I was thinking maybe you could go Kool-Aid too, but if Jared Verse is at 26, when I've seen people mock him like anywhere between like 8 and 20, you got to take him.
Absolutely,
I just don't
absolutely,
see how you don't. So I think
absolutely.
Bucks fans would be so happy with that.
Verse is awesome. Verse is currently my edge too because I do prefer Latu. Verse is so awesome. I mean, turn on the Will Campbell tape, man. Will Campbell, arguably the best offensive tackle in the 2025 NFL draft, projected top 10 pick. He was spanking him the whole game. He was just spanking him, dude. This is a guy who is just I don't want to say he's this exact player. I don't think he's quite this guy. He really did give me Max Crosby vibes. Those are the vibes I did get from Jared Verse. Just speed to
A
power,
good
dude. It's
comp.
wild. And I think he's got a good pass rush, smooth box. I think he's good as a run defender. Maybe not to the extent of a Crosby, but still. This is ridiculous. Like, is this the pick of the draft? It's either like the two picks of the
It's the
draft
two
so far
edges.
have
I
been
mean,
either
dude, like
locked.
if I'm the Bucks and I get him at 26, I'm ecstatic. I'm
You're getting, in my opinion, a top 15 player of the draft at pick 26, which is
yeah,
wild.
yeah.
However, I think this next pick might be a bit better because I think one, they need him.
I know you've been wanting
Two,
to make this pick. Pick
he's
27.
listen, if you would ask me, now this is what I'm gonna say. You would ask me about what time is it for me? It's almost midnight. You would ask me about 7 hours ago, I would have said, Amarius Mims is on the board. Take him. We need a tackle. We have Paris Johnson and Amarius Mims. We cut DJ Humphries and we signed Jonah Williams. And maybe, obviously I would prefer Mims over Williams, but still, I think Jonah Williams is a very solid player who has had his ups and downs in the NFL, but getting into a new culture may help. I mean, we did it with Will Hernandez. Will Hernandez was horrible with the Giants. He goes to Arizona and has been a decent player the last 2 years. So unfortunately, I don't think we take Mims. This guy right here, the white boy out of Iowa. Cooper DeJean, man. I'm gonna rant about him for a second because I'm an Iowa fan. I've watched every snap of Cooper DeJean's career, every single one, on tape and as a fan. This guy is just special. I mean, just a versatile nightmare. This is a guy who defensive coordinators are going to be drooling about because he has the versatility to play in the slot, to play out in boundary, to play in the box as a linebacker. They put him at edge rusher a couple of times and he was able to win reps. Cooper DeJean is just a nightmare, dude. And he has the athleticism that you look for. He's potentially a low 4.4, maybe a 4.3 runner. And, this is something else I'll say. Athletes talk about the fact that the NFL likes athletes who play multiple sports. They just do. Cooper DeJean didn't play other sports. He dominated other sports in high school. Currently, number 2 all time in Iowa history for basketball points, 42 more points than Sacramento Kings forward Harrison Barnes.
Damn, I did not know that.
As well as the fact that, remember, there's people who do track all year round. He was just like, just another sport. One stayed in the 100-meter dash, 24 feet in the long jump. 24 feet. And remember, this isn't a guy who trains every day of his life for track. He plays baseball, plays basketball, he plays football.
He's just an athlete.
It's just a year-round sport, and he's just a freaky athlete, dude. And played quarterback in high school, played safety in high school. And then, he just played baseball, just probably because he was just bored and he wanted to. Probably throws 92 miles an hour, like, for all I know. And I think it's such a great scheme fit, man, because Arizona is a team that needs not only an outside corner, they need another boundary, or they need another slot corner as well. I like Garrett Williams, but there's a lot of questions with injuries. You signed Sean Murphy-Bunting. I think DeJean, if he hits that upside, in my humble opinion, has the highest upside of maybe any defensive player in the draft. I think he can be a Trent McDuffie type player, just a versatile chess piece. McDuffie went in the 20s, and you could argue he's the best corner in his draft, along with guys like Stingley and Sauce. I think DeJean could be right up there. PFF has him listed as a top 10 player in the draft. I don't think that's crazy. I have him as a top 12 player in the draft. I think he's special, man. I think it's such a great fit for Arizona as well.
There we go. I like it. I think you said enough that I did not know about the track stats though. That was.
Oh, dude, it's stupid. He ran at 11 flat in the 100-meter dash in high school, and it's not. And once again, he's not out here training for it. it's just a youth thing for him. Like he's
That's
just a
really
special
nice.
athlete, man. He's just a rare athlete you don't find.
28 for the Bills. I'm getting these teams where I could go so many ways. I think look, who are the edges left? I'm trying to think.
Chop is on the board.
Yeah, I would
Chop's
say
on
if
the
I
board.
were
Or
to go
Darius
edge,
Robinson's also on the board.
it would probably be Chop if I were to go edge. They could go Keon. I've seen Keon be mocked to them a lot. I mean, they just re-signed Dion Dawkins, so the
And they
Bills,
have Spencer Brown, so
yeah, like they're the and okay, but the Bills receiving core is Diggs, Mac Hollins, and Shakir. So I feel like they need a guy who can play on that outside. I think it's between Keon and Brian, and honestly, I like Keon more than I do Brian Thomas. So give me Keon Coleman. Let's do kind of like a, I guess, like a big name to a big team. I think let's do Keon here. Um I mean, their DBs are also weak. I think they need safety most of all, but like there's no safeties I would take at the spot. So I
right.
think Keon Coleman here is probably where I'd go. Pick 28.
Absolutely. I agree. Lions here. I have been mocking them a corner forever and ever and ever and ever. Kool-Aid.
Right there.
I'm going to go in a different direction. I think you
Interesting.
lose Jonah Jackson. I think you need a guy who can plug in at guard. I love Grant Barton here at 29. He's a guy who can just plug in at any spot on the O line you need him to. You obviously have your tackles set in Taylor Decker and the greatest one ever, Penei Sewell, obviously. You have Frank Ragnow at center. You lose Jonah Jackson in free agency. You want to keep that O line nice and tidy for Jared Goff in that game. You know, Ben Johnson loves that offensive line. I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have needs at corner. I completely get it. You have Carlton Davis, who maybe isn't great, but he's an upgrade from what you had last year. He's going to be your CB1, and it won't be Cam Sutton anymore. Thank God. And then you have Brian Branch who will play in the slot as well. I think you got to keep that O line nice and tidy, and it's done wonders for Philly. So, Lions, skip it up.
I think the Ravens here, dude, is it? I think Amarius Mims might be the
It
guy. Like,
has to be Mims,
yeah, I
dude.
mean,
It
dude, they
has to
just
be.
lost Moses. Stanley's getting up there in age. Corner, I think Stevens played really good for them last year. Like I thought he had some really good tape. I think Marius Mims is kind of it just falls to him here. I mean, they can work with a guy with less experience. I mean, we already kind of looked at him, but yeah, he's not polished. I think that's a good point, but I think the Ravens can easily work with a guy like this. He's got really good play strength. So I think he would probably be their right tackle. That's where they'd probably fit him in. Honestly, can't say for sure he's a day one starter, but if, again, NFL teams can work with that. He's got upside. I think the Ravens would be ecstatic to have him here.
I think Trevor said it pretty well. Trevor Sekema, PFF.
Yeah.
He's not polished, but trench players built like this don't make it out of the top 50. And they don't. This dude is a freak show. And that's the thing about this tackle class, man. There's a lot of freaks, but you could very much argue Amarius Mims is the freakiest of the bunch. You could very well argue that. The question is obviously limited snaps. He didn't play much, but
Yeah.
the Ohio State game makes you feel good. It makes you realize, okay, this dude can play in the NFL. He just needs the right coaching. I think Mims here at 30 is a slam dunk pick for a team that desperately needs a right tackle. You can plug him in at right tackle and he'll be perfect. Ronnie's getting up there and he also has been injured a lot. You lost Morgan Moses, and this is a team that needs that run game to be solid. How do you fix a run game? You draft some tackles and you draft some guards. I think the interior is good enough for now. You need help
Yep.
at tackle. I love it. 49ers here. This is a team that, once again, they really need some O-line help. I'm looking at the options right now, and
Jordan Morgan, maybe?
Jordan Morgan's fine, but I think there's another player on here that I just can't pass on. And I think it's a big need. I think they need corner, and I think Kool-Aid falling here would be great. You have him and Travarius Ward. I like Kool-Aid, man. I
Yep.
really do. Like, listen, he's not the athlete that the other four are, and that has been the one issue with him is we question his speed. He wasn't able to run the 40 because of the foot injury he had, and it was prevented him from testing. But no one has better tape in the class than Kool-Aid McKinstry. Just the tape and production. No one's one threw at him. Nobody threw the ball at him. He had about what 32 targets all of last season, about two a game. Less than, I know it's less than that. He had less than I remember exactly. He had less than I believe no, wait. He had around 3 targets per game and he allowed 1.3 catches per game. No one threw the ball at him, man. No one threw the ball at him. Maybe you question the ceiling as a player, but and I've said this before. I don't think high floor cornerbacks relatively exist that often. I think Kool-Aid is a high floor corner because it's very hard to see a
Yeah.
world where he's a bad player.
I think the Niners in this particular mock are killing the Lions right now because they would have grabbed Barton in a second. I think they would have taken him like right away. He would have been
In
like
a
the perfect
split second.
interior O
Yeah.
lineman that they could have had. So the Chiefs, I get the Super Bowl champs. I think it's gonna be a receiver. I'm hoping. I mean, like usually, I feel like every time we say it, for
There's
one,
rumors of them signing Hollywood as well. I do want to throw that out there, but you still need more than that. You do need
so
more
they
than that.
need a vertical threat, and I think that comes down to Brian Thomas and Troy Franklin. I've been mocking Troy Franklin to the Chiefs for a while, but with Brian Thomas being there, right? What did he mean? Is he 6'3"? Is he
Yeah,
like
I think he's 6'4". Yeah, he's
six
6'4".
four? Dude. I mean, they
And the
let go
guy,
of MVS, who was quote unquote their vertical threat. Look, I like Troy Franklin a lot. Like, I am probably bigger on him than most. But I mean, Brian Thomas here as a vertical threat with Rasheed kind of riding in the slot. I just don't see how you pass up Brian Thomas here.
you have Hollywood as well. Most likely, it sounds like he's going to go there. Hasn't happened yet, but sounds
Yeah.
like
And I
go
think
there.
you just need a guy that you can win those 50-50 balls with.
Yep.
And I mean, with Mahomes kind of out of the pocket, just be like, yo, go up and get this, man. And with his frame, I think that's where you go here. So Brian Thomas rounds out our first round. Wow. This was a really good one. I like this a lot.
Oh,
It had
I
some
like this one a lot.
surprises. I obviously pick 12 is probably the the biggest surprise on there. But I like this a lot. Is there maybe a pick that you like the most out of this one?
I mean, as a Cardinal fan, it kills me. I mean, Latu at 19 is dumb, and
That's probably my favorite too.
I know he's going to fall that far because of those medicals, and I don't care. He is the best pass rusher in this class, and it's not close. It's not close at all. I think he's just such a high floor that you just can't pass on that. I would take him in the top 10. Hell, if I'm Atlanta, I'm taking him at 8.
Mhm.
Like, no question about it. I'm taking him at 8. And, maybe you can say Raheem Morris wants the high ceiling guy. So maybe he would go with the Dallas Turner. But
Yeah.
I just think Atlanta hasn't had a good pass rusher, edge rusher in
Oh,
particular, years. So I
yeah,
just,
I think it's
Latu
either
at
that
19
one or
for me.
Jared Verse at 26. I think both of
Jared
them.
Verts at 26 is also insane value. I think Mims at 30 is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I think, once again, I may be biased, but I think Coop is such a special athlete and such a special corner. I think I would take him much higher than this. Any reaches you think?
Yeah, 12. I mean, honestly, I think McCarthy at 5 is a reach, but like they kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think those would be honestly my only two reaches. A, Peyton Wilson is available right now. If we did a second round, Browns, if Peyton Wilson is available, please go and get him. I would, it's gonna be us or Seattle. Like us and Seattle are going to be fighting for linebackers for the next 2 months. That's just how it's gonna be. But please go get him. But man, this was I love this draft. I think this is like a lot of picks I really see like just kind of this is like what I envision. I think sure there were maybe a couple surprises mainly because the guy that they wanted maybe got picked before him. But like I'm looking at the Dolphins probably would be the biggest. Yeah, like probably 2021 is probably like the biggest. Like oh my God, you just kind of took it there. I think also again we just mentioned it, but the Lions and the Niners would probably be my other thing. But I like this draft a lot. I think a lot of teams make it out here very happy.
Oh, absolutely. Who do you think is the winner though of the draft?
If we were to do it like this, I mean, I know, look, I know Arizona would be ecstatic with these two guys. So, I mean, like with their two picks, but I feel like those two are very in place. Like, I think they're going to end up getting MHJ, and I think they're going to end up getting a really solid player at 27.
Right.
I would still have to say the Rams or the Bucks. I mean, you're getting insane value at your picks, right? And without having to do anything. right? We only ended up doing one trade. Obviously, there will likely be more.
It's just hard
I
to predict those
yeah,
trades.
I,
Yeah.
I I think the only one, or I think one again that's more likely. I really see the Broncos trading down if really things are not where they are. Like they really need to kind of accumulate picks and just really rebuild that team. I could see the Niners trading down if this kind of goes like that because I mean Kool-Aid was there, but like if Kool-Aid's not there or interior O line, I could see them trading down as well. Um, maybe Philadelphia can trade down also at 22 if like the Bills or someone really like a guy, they can maybe trade up there to get a receiver or something. But I think that Chargers and Vikings trade is a very good possibility. I was thinking it could maybe be with the Giants, but I think the Giants want to stay there and take the better of the two receivers that they like. So I think 5 and 11 would be really good, and I think the Chargers, if they land in a Brock Bowers, because who else would take him before pick 11? I think
Nobody.
that's,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's
maybe the Jets. Maybe.
yeah, but
Maybe.
I doubt it. I think the Jets would. Yeah, so I think the Chargers are also a big winner there too. They get what, the 25 first that we gave them? Yeah.
You're getting, I mean, take positional value out of it. You're getting a top five player in the draft at pick 11.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just are.
I think the
He's that.
Chargers are up there with the winners. I think
Yes.
that's we got to include them.
I think another winner, I think it's kind of obvious, and they're making the easy picks, but it's the fact they have these picks at all. The Bears, Caleb Williams, and
Oh
Malik
yeah,
Davis.
yeah.
I mean,
You get your
you're getting
dynamic.
the best quarterback prospect in the draft with the highest upside, and you're throwing him in an offense. Like I said earlier, you're throwing him in that offense, and they could be Super Bowl contenders very quickly.
Whatever slot or outside reps Mooney ran, Malik Neighbors is going to do those snaps on steroids. That is like, not saying he's going to do it on
He
steroids.
also
He's
won't
just going to
drop the
be way
ball.
better. He's going to be way
He won't
better.
drop Hail Marys. I promise you, Bears fans.
Browns fans out there, you know how lucky we got on that. But man, this was a very fun draft. Let us know in the comments. I mean, was there like any players that you were maybe surprised with or anything that you really agree with on? Because I like a lot of these picks. And yeah, 20. I'm any Packers fan out there is probably not gonna like this, but man, Donnie, thanks so much for hopping on. We've been the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast, and we will see you guys next time.